Well, I'm having a lot of fun playing the Smash Bros, and I'm not an all lost Brian function from playing with Ranfo. Girl who smokes some deck leaf, man, these crazy ass dreams recently. I was on an island, there was a girl there, and I only did it, but her age was indeterminate. So I went over to the spooky cave and there was a crocodile man. There's a major difference between a remake and a remaster. One is supposed to make the game better, while the other is just a straight up port, yo! There is, however, a third category, called remake.
Oh no!
It's unfortunate that I have to say this, but the Link's Awakening remake is more like Link's Awankening. You know, a typo you made by accident on the occasion when looking up the OST. Speaking of the OST, let's talk about that first. You know how at the beginning of the game, you go to the beach, get the sword, and then a triumphant jingle plays, followed by one of the best Zelda overworld themes? Well, this remake delivers on the triumphant theme. Ha! You wish! The actual theme is 200 Scovilles. What's this fucking string bassoon shit? Where's the bass? It's all string! String, 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 string! Everybody loves string! You know this shit is your fault, right? Huh? Yeah, you, at the computer, looking at that OST upload from Mario Kart 8 and commenting, flagging this for sexual content like a retard. Do you even realise that that comment has been made about 20 billion times already? Damn! Well, shit like that makes a weak OST happen. Mr. This song made me pull a hamstring. One of the only songs I think works is the Room Clear jingle. It's powerful, like it should be. Gives you some rush of, yes, I did indeed clear the zone. Listen to the theme of the Mobile Attack. I get what they're trying to do, but it just sounds like a bad comedy film. You get what I mean. The thing that really describes my point well, though, is the Piece of Power theme. What is this? You do realise that piece of power means power, right? This theme reminds me of someone accidentally spilling alcohol into their morning cereal. It's made you disappointed, and you know the day is going to get worse than it already is. I may as well talk about the dungeon themes. Give you my nostalgia critique. Hijack time. What? Who said that? Hello, I'm the nostalgia critique, and I remember it because I'm obsessed. I'm going to talk about the dungeon themes today. Wow! Oh, hello, Link from The Legend of Zelda. How are you doing today, chap? Hey man, well, I'm not even here, man. Okay, shut the fuck up. I'm just going to talk about the dungeon themes now. Dungeon theme 1 is Tail Cave. It's pretty weak and reminds me of a baboon playing a bassoon. Oh no, he's taken over my review! Dungeon theme 2 is Bottle Grotto. The music here is okay, but leaves you wanting more, not in a good way either. It's just a straight up song remake, with some Game Boy sounds and some orchestra. This also applies for Key Cavern. The Color Dungeons theme is exactly as it should be, exquisite quite. Dungeon 4's is actually an improvement. It has a nice atmosphere behind it, and the instrumentation really actually fits. Catfish's More is sort of closer on the scale to the second and third dungeons, but overall it still really fits. Face Charm is on a similar level to Dungeon 4. The atmosphere works. Eagle Tower doesn't really work, honestly. For once, strings would have been better here. Still a really good melody, though. Turtle Rock is probably the worst one. It's very quiet, but not in an atmospheric way. Just like a bad, shitty R&B song. Windfish's egg really fits for what the intent is, dark and intimidating. The custom dungeon themes are pretty good for what they attempt to do. They fit well and exceptionally... Anyway, let's talk about control. There's two types of control when it comes to games, analog and digital. Digital is more appropriate for 2D side-scrollers, while analog is more used for 3D endeavours. This game has digital control on a control stick, with no option for D-pad. That's particular gross. Some of the enemies move on the same axes as you, but some have the ability to move freely, and it's bullshit when they hit you because of this. You know what game has analog control? Link's Awakening, and that was on a D-pad. Those who have played the original should know that there's a Long Boy trading quest. This is kept the same, except for one major detail. The trendy game, the original, it was a circle of conveyors with the Yoshi doll in the centre, making it the easiest thing ever. In the remake, they accidentally made it the exact opposite.
Accidentally?
Ah! He's back! What do I mean by accidentally? Well, in the original, the game is just move and pick it up. However, this claw game is like a real claw game. It requires scam to give you endorphins. Also, it has physics, real actual physics. Those never end well. The claw itself has holes in it, so some items will just slip out. Some won't even get picked up at all. They didn't have to grind money at the beginning of a fast-paced adventure game. It's a big fat reality though. The shield has also been changed. Now you can't strike with it unless you have your sword out. Which can be some problems at certain times, accidentally slipping the stick to the left slowly and then getting hit. Let's talk about laziness in segment 2. How to make a lazy remake. I have 3 points of proof that this remake is lazy, and what you should never do when making a good remake. Number 1. Recycle models from a completely different game.
Bring back the national decks! Lazy cunt Masood!
If you come one step closer and or say one more word. You may notice this, but you also may not. But some models seem to be reused from Link Between Worlds, specifically the Octorok one. Maybe they have a higher poly count, but they still look nothing like the original sprites. And when you're remaking something, accuracy is key. And don't say that the winged ones disprove this theorem. They most likely just have a separate wing object attached to them. Moblins might be reused as well, as many other enemies in fact, like Tektites. Number 2. General graphical style. I get what they're trying to do here. Make it look like the 2D sprites, but it doesn't really transfer well in this case. Like, this shit looks like those weird official Earthbound arts, and I hate Earthbound. It's not a good game. Why do people think that? The overworld itself has some major problems by being 3D too. For example, there's no screen lock anymore, meaning no screen scrolling. Why is this a problem? Well, in the original, there are 2 key points that use the screen scrolling to their advantage. The forest and the face shrine. In the forest, there's a raccoon man. He fucks up space until you give him mushrooms. The way he fucks up space is that when you walk up to the screen to the north, it transitions to the screen to the right, coming from the south. In the remake, this is a fade in to a fade out. Not nearly as cool as a mindfuck. It legit makes me worried for if they remake the Oracle games in this style. The Lost Woods would suck, but somehow they don't. The Windfish's Egg Maze works just fine, so I put in the effort to make the dungeon scroll, but not the overworld. You want to know a game that remakes the sort of camera used in the original game well? Mega Man 11. In that game, the camera was orthographic, meaning effectively 2D. It also recreates the screen scrolling like in the originals. The camera in the Link's Awakening remake seems to be what I know as a perspective camera. I wouldn't use this to remake the camera from the original. There are some points where the camera shifts because trees block a pit or something. How about this? Just have the camera at this angle at all times. Let's talk about lighting for a minute. The overworld is lit from the north, in a somewhat realistic way, which is not how they should have done it. If you don't like the world with, I assume, Unreal Engine lighting, you should light it from the south, so you can actually see the caves on the north walls. Even if you didn't want to light it from the south, so you can see the ground, there's a simple way to fix this. See, the original technically had shadow on the walls, but they weren't actual shadows, so you could still see stuff. Here it's hard to tell what is a cave or not. Number 3, missing the point. The colour dungeon is a good dungeon. It has an exclusive enemy, a blob! A blob that sits over coloured tiles and blends in a little bit, due to the animated tiles and how small they are on screen. In this version, they stick out like a stick. Who fucking wrote this shitty In Animal Village there's a house, but it sadly does not have a little mouse. In this house there are 2 animals, a hippo and a crocodile. In the original Game Boy version, and yes I've meant the DX version this whole time, you don't really know what colour these animals are, but when you play the DX version, you find out they are red and blue. 2 colours that complement each other, and that's a slightly running theme throughout the DX version. Although in the DX version, the ball enemies in the coloured dungeon are green, and they changed it for the better here, making them blue. So why the fuck did they make the hippo grey? I always thought there were 2 reasons for the animals being unorthodox colours. 1, because it looks better, same reason the Sompins are yellow, and 2, because it enforces the point that the island is a dream. There's another thing I can put under misses the point. Let's talk about advertising!
Oh no.
So if you've played Link's Awakening original, you should know that the whole game is a dream. There are subtle clues to this at the beginning, such as the owl's line, "At first I didn't believe you were real." It's not entirely obvious, but it's a little nod you may not notice. Considering in the original, the text is illegible. Once you beat the 5th boss, you get another hint, and then at the face shrine, it's basically revealed. This is how you make a good plot twist. Take a look at this teaser ad, and really focus on the lyrics. Keep in mind that this ad is most likely both for the kids who are now 25, who originally played it, and for new players.
Sleepers wake, dreams will fade, although we cling fast. Was it real, what we saw? I believe.
This ad is not even subtle at all. It's as subtle as a motorbike revving outside your house while you're recording. Oh, for fuck's sake. Look, I'm not going on about this any longer. Bottom line, this ad pisses me off. At least if you're going to spoil the game, you should do it in a shitty rap format. Oh hey, there's a missed potential. In the original game, there's a house that does actually have a mouse. You take photos on your adventure and you'd print them with the Game Boy printer. I think they'd be pretty easy to transfer over the Switch considering the screenshot feature. Some of them were particularly funny too. But now, in this version, it's been replaced by Dante's Shack. You can arrange dungeons here, and it's fun for about 2.5 hours. But then, you realise just how little variety in rooms you can use. And then you just go inside! You can only use rooms from dungeons that are 1x1 screen. So no big rooms like an Eagle Tower. The only thing they really added here to make it interesting was the effect to add dropping bombs to rooms. It makes some bosses interesting. There's one more thing that really peeved me. The boomerang. 1, the model is reused from A Link Between Worlds.
Ah, fuck Game 3! I fucking told you!
And 2, the fact that some overall game improvements have made the list of items you can trade a lot smaller. See, I'd normally get the boomerang after face shrine, giving the goblin the shield since I don't use it. But now it's set to a button and not an item. Same with the Pegasus boots. So now the list of items you can give them has basically been lessened to the shovel. But you need the shovel to get secret seashells. So now I can't get the boomerang until at least after Eagle Tower. Now you think with all the things I've said, I think this game is an abomination of nature. You're technically right, but somehow, some way, the game is still very fun. I give this game a Play the DX version out of 10.
Right, well, now back to planning how to prevent the monkey uprising. Ah! Ranfo! You've come for me this time, haven't you? No, I'm kinda here for the actual corpse. That is not a cheesy video thing. Oh, okay, Ranfo. That's not my name anymore. It's Death now. Say it one more time and I'll kill you! In Smash Brothers. Say, Death, mind helping me with something?